Hi guys, welcome back to my Build with Mel show. This is the second one, and I am joined with an amazing entrepreneur, James Muir. He has a pretty cool marketplace which basically helps kids and young adults get connected with coaches. And we're not talking about life coaches, we're talking about true coaches in when it comes to training in soccer and I guess James will explain more exactly what type of coaches it is. But I guess today will be about James and, what James has been doing in his business and how I'll be giving him tips on what I would be doing to scale his business. So that will be the whole concept of show. So James, really cool talking to you just a little bit earlier, but just for everyone else that is joining in, Treiner. So I really liked what you were telling me before, and I just want to bring that back again. You were saying that you were playing at a pretty high level, and you thought that your actual performance could have been accelerated or even heightened if you had found a good coach for yourself, because a coach seems to either make or break you. Can you just tell me a little bit of the backstory of that journey as to how that actually led you to create Treiner?
Yeah, I guess. So just recapturing what we were discussing before. Born in Australia, and I grew up in Europe. So I lived in Malta, the UK, for the best part of 15 years. And obviously, over in Europe, the main sport is football, soccer. You call it over here in Australia. But yeah, so I had an interesting journey there, playing at a pretty high level. But I wasn't definitely the best pick in terms of a player that would straight away be able to play professional. So although I did have a few trials here and there, I wasn't offered a professional spot straight away. So I guess, having access to probably the right coach at the right time. I thought, if I had the right coach who could guide me in terms of the trials when I was 14 or 15, I think I could have continued playing at a much higher level than I did. Even so, I still managed to play at a reasonably high level, the conference level and state league level when I came back to Australia. And I guess that pushed me into my coaching journey. So I started coaching in 2004 when I moved back to Australia, and I really enjoyed the coaching space because of that experience as a player. And I was still playing at the same time as well, but I just really enjoyed coaching more. Giving back, especially to younger players. So I was working predominantly with younger players at the start, and then also I gravitated towards working with some senior teams as well. Through that experience, I managed to go over and coach in Fiji and worked my way up to becoming assistant technical director there, and then moved back to Australia with Football New South Wales as a coaching and development manager for the southern New South Wales region, and then moved back to Victoria a few years ago and became technical director with a few national Premier League teams. So I guess through those experiences as a coach and also having that journey, then in the last few years, I started to get a lot of feedback from both parents and clubs as well as players that they also struggled to find the right coach for them because the sports space, especially team sports, are always gravitated towards the club. And your focus is on, this is your coach, work with that coach. So it's not really a choice unless you become a bit of a club hopper and jump around and make a choice based on who the coach is. But sometimes that coach might not even stay, the full year. So potentially that's a bit of a dangerous decision. So I guess those experiences really drew me towards starting my own sports consultancy. And then out of that, Treiner ended up coming out as the demand for finding coaches was really great, because most clubs and schools don't have a very large network of coaches, and Indeed actually came out with a report last year. It was the second hardest job to fill in Australia, because often the wages and the salaries for coaches are very low in comparison to what the coaches expect to be paid, and also the marketing of those jobs itself as well isn't the best.
Cool. Okay. So now you built Treiner, and it's basically to help find those coaches. Tell me about, and I'm just jumping into it because I have this question since we talked literally 15 minutes ago. Is there people come on there and they're looking for coaches? Does the locality of how close the coaches are have a big impact as to whether they're going to it, or has COVID now completely changed that as to there is now online coaching and that that can be just as good, or is that not going to be just as good? So can you tell me about how important that physical part of coaching someone in football is?
Yeah, I think in Australia, traveling is a big part of playing sport, and especially in New South Wales when I was there, people travel across Sydney an hour, 2 hours sometimes to find a really good coach. In Melbourne, it's a little bit different. People are prepared to really travel probably only half an hour or so. So I think it depends on the region that you're in. But obviously with COVID and the first lockdown, well, in Victoria anyway, we saw people preferring to have a coach that's local, that's within their kind of council region. And there was a little bit of a demand for online sessions, but I think that was a bit gimmicky at first. And I think, especially with all the the Zoom training sessions that people are offering, and that, especially with this second lockdown now, we've seen a bit of Zoom fatigue, and there's not really that interest there. People would still prefer that physical face-to-face contact and feedback, which you just don't get in a Zoom session. Even the best coaches and the best online facilitators just can't replicate that personal face-to-face experience. So that's what we found. I mean, we within the first lockdown, we quickly enabled that feature to be able to book virtual sessions via Zoom. So we did that within 3 days of the first COVID lockdown. But there hasn't been a huge demand for that, but there was a really big demand for one-on-one sessions, especially, and that was across the country. And we saw a lot of A-League players and W-League players that were stood down from their clubs. They actually jumped on the platform and signed up as a coach, and especially a lot of the foreign coaches who weren't eligible for JobKeeper or Job Seeker, so they weren't eligible for any government payments. So they jumped on the platform and were able to kind of assist them through that first lockdown. And now, obviously, with Sydney and Brisbane, which the majority were located in, those areas are kind of back up and running. So they're actually in a good place now.
Okay, so basically proximity does matter. So that means you kind of do need coaches dispersed all the way across the market in order to, get people to book these coaches. So have you found that you need to have lots of coaches because the demand can come from pretty much anywhere within Victoria, within New South Wales? So do you think volume of coach availability is important? I know you were telling me something before that actually created issues, but I want you to just go into that because I think it's so important in marketplaces. The experience you had where you have too much, and then you can't service the demand. So my question back to you again is it a good idea to have lots of coaches because physical proximity is important?
Yeah, I guess there's always that balance and the liquidity that you need within a marketplace. Initially, we started off with around 30 coaches when we launched back in 2017, and we grew that to around 250 on the first version of our platform, and then we grew that to 3,000 on our second version. But what we found with that second version was there was probably too many, and they didn't get enough bookings to be able to jump on and update their profile and update their availability. So when we relaunched earlier this year, we focused on the coaches that were more savvy and had the highest number of bookings over the last few years, and and had completed profiles or had really good profiles within the industry. And we've just focused on maximizing their bookings, and then when it gets to a situation where we can't, there's a specific time or location that we don't have, then we just quickly go back to our previous database and our list and quickly onboard a few coaches to fill that demand. So we're kind of manually onboarding on a new platform, but we don't want to do it too quickly on the supply side until obviously the demand side's that's fleshed out in a little bit more detail.
And I like that because, I've played into marketplaces for so long, and I know that it's so easy to get the supply. Everyone wants to be on a platform when you tell them, and I'm going to get you clients, and everyone's kind of ready to do that. But are you charging any of the coaches to be on the platform, or is it just a share of, 15, 20% of the actual sessions?
Yeah, so at the moment we just take a marketplace fee per transactions. There's no sign-up fee at the moment, and we take a 10% plus GST fee. So 10% standard within the sports industry as an agent's fee. So agents of professional sports players will generally take around 10%. So that's kind of the standard within sport. It's a little bit lower for marketplaces in general. Most marketplaces are between 12 to 25%. So when talking to investors, they were keen to kind of drive that up. But in terms of our, ethically, in terms of what coaches do, what coaches are used to, and what people are used to, then 10% is fine. We'd prefer to have other costs. So looking at more of a PaaS option, a platform as a service option, where we have extra tools and features that we charge for at a later date.
Have you tried, and I want to get into the whole marketing and advice and everything, and so I'm going to start throwing ideas just to see where I think the scale is. Have you tried to get one of the most prominent coaches, within Australia, or within UK, or wherever you have obviously played into, to come on the platform and really be one of those ones that you can book time with, that people would pay high dollars, so that you can actually get your brand out there? So you'd have like celebrity coaches. Have you thought about approaching the market in that way? So you might have only 3, but they are, prominent. Why would they be on there? It's obviously you have to build that relationship with them, but you might already have those. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we won't be able to get A-League coaches, for instance, but the next level down, some of the high-profile National Premier League coaches within Victoria, yeah, definitely we have a few of them. We've got a few A-League academy coaches across Brisbane, Sydney, and down in Melbourne as well. So we've managed to get a few of those people on board, and grabbing a few A-League players and W League players has been pretty successful. And because that's enabled them to set up their kind of coaching profile as they transition into coaching when they retire. Over in Malaysia, where we've also launched over in Malaysia as well, we've partnered with the Professional Football Association over there, and they've been really helpful in getting all the high profile coaches on board. So we've onboarded a lot of those guys, and we're about to push that marketing campaign out in Malaysia over the next few weeks.
Okay, because I think that getting a face, and maybe they're not even someone that you can book on the platform, right? So maybe that's not the play that I'm talking about, but I'm saying that there's got to be, kids and young adults that look up to particular coaches. And if you could just get them to do some sort of interview with you, or some sort of, podcast with you, or some sort of content game with you, where they give tips or whatever it is that they're going to do, because it's about your site getting known now. So people go, this is where I go to book coaches, right? So there's a couple of different games that I think needs to be played. But one of the things that I know is like this whole, it's people look up to people within the sports industry, and they recognize particular names. So I really think there could be a big play there, and it's something that you might actually have relationships in. I think you must have some relationships with coaches.
Yeah, definitely. We've tried that with 2 of the higher profile players recently. So with Daniel Georgievski, who plays for Western Sydney Wanderers. So we did an interview with him in terms of what a standard coaching session with him looks like, and we did the same with Amy Phillips, who plays for New Zealand. She's one of the Football Ferns. So we've done that with a few of the coaches.
How did you promote it so that it gets known? So how did you promote that event?
Yeah, so we pushed that across our Facebook campaigns. So we've just started to optimize those a little bit more over the last few months. So we found quite good traction, especially with the Daniel Georgievski one, because he's got quite a high profile within the game. With the rest of the coaches, that's been more of a challenge, because coaches traditionally are pretty conservative. They obviously want a lot of bookings, but they don't necessarily want that higher profile on social media. So that's been a challenge.
Let them be on the profile, but those high profile that don't want to do the session, but they want branding, they want to be known, they want to be followed. There's an opportunity. Can we just go back to the Facebook ad there that you ran to get people to come on this webinar? Was it an online webinar that the coach was going to be like, this is what I do, this is my technique? Was that was that what happened?
No, it was just an interview it was just an interview, and we recorded that and pushed that out via stories and a few other campaigns.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't a live event, like come and attend what we're doing. Okay. So if you did push it all out and did whatever, did you capture any emails of people when you did it like that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we were able to capture quite a few emails from those campaigns.
Okay. So can I just go through that? So you're promoting that, hey, this is an event. The event's already happened, correct? The interview's already happened. And
that's right.
And then you're just showing this is what happened. And what was the button that they would be? What's the objective here for them? Why would they share their email with you? So how was it run? Yeah,
so we had some different session offerings where so we had some drills that they could sign up for. We had some cycles as well, some train at home programs, so they could continue training at home during lockdown. So those were the main drivers there. Or they could book a session with Daniel for a one-on-one session as well.
Okay, the person that you interviewed.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll give you a tip on a different strategy that I think would work really well for you, because it's worked really great for some of my clients. If you run these interviews, and you can go and promote it on Eventbrite or Humanmetrics or one of those kind of, we create that event over there. In order to register for the event, you must give your email, that's I recommend you. And it's really much more cheaper than opting into anything else. So if there is going to be like A-League people, there's people within your network that you can come on and they will give their tips on, how they coach the A-League or whatever you do. If that's the kind of content, because you've got both people interested on that, both the coaching side and the actual training, the people that want training. So you've got both people that would be interested in coming to that event, right? So you host that event, and it's probably a live session that's recorded and everything. You promote that event as an event that is coming up on Facebook. So whether you charge for that, that's your choice. You can charge for the event as well. So you can actually use the event as a moneymaker, because you might have to pay
that's right.
A-League. So once they come and register for the event, you've now captured the email, and it will be much more cheaper to capture the email than what you paid to capture the email, how you did it, because lots of people want it. And the cheaper the event is, the more, if it's a free event, even, it will be free to capture the emails. So they all come, you've got these emails, right? So then you do your event or whatever, you've got the recording, you've now got content that you can now make it even better, the content, so you can make those into more 2-minute videos. Have you seen the videos now that's going viral in Facebook, where they just have the text on the top? There's like a button that you press for YouTube, and just blah, blah, blah. So you find the best bit of where he's giving his tip, and you make sure you reuse that content again.
Right.
So you've got that. Now the emails that you've collected, so great. So you can now reach out to them as a follow-up so you have an email sequence of things you can be sharing about, hey, we've got this coach and this is the training tips that he's doing, this is what he's implementing. You can now start sending out things to this email list. It might be 5 to 6 emails before someone actually even does anything, but the emails don't cost you anything apart from writing as well and writing engaging content. That same email list that you've now collected, which will get longer and longer the more events you've got, you can go back into Facebook and you can start creating lookalike audiences. Have you done lookalike audiences yet?
Yeah, we've been working on those over the last 2 months.
Yeah. So if you've got but you need a long email list of people
Mm-hmm.
that are literally going to purchase. But by doing these events, you're getting content that's got
Mm-hmm.
virality potential, and you've got this lookalike audience opportunity that you've created
Mm-hmm.
for yourself. And then you've got this email sequence. So if you talk about these email sequences and what the content that these guys are going to want to be served. So nowadays, what people like to write here is like stories and how someone, how someone succeeded and what are the tips.
Mm-hmm.
Keep feeding them, but within the email, there's usually link bait. Like,
Mm-hmm.
press here and you can find out
Yeah.
about exact tips. So you can like start linking in any blogs you're doing. So you see if they land on a particular thing, if they're interested in a particular thing. With emails, you can just start yourself with one link bait per email rather than overwhelm yourself. But
Mm.
one bait, they land there, they check out that page. Now, once they land on this page, you know that these people are much more warmer, right? Because they've landed on
Mm-hmm.
this
Yeah.
particular page. Going back again to Facebook, you can now put a pixel on that page. Like if they landed on this page, offer them a discount.
Mm-hmm.
Or offer them something to make the purchase, because you've warmed them from webinar to an email to landed on your page. Now, if they landed on that page, you should give them this discount. So,
Yeah.
or once they've also landed on that page, a pop-up appears on that page when you scroll all the way down, that, hey, there's a discount or something like that you can get, for and valid for, I don't know, 72 hours or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you've had to lead them on a whole journey. So you've given them value, and now you've given them a price discount, or you've given them like something that, it's like, okay, now they're ready for the purchase. So the exit pop-up can be offered on the website, so they might buy it, but maybe they need a few days and they're back on Facebook again, they'll get that offer. So does that make sense, how you kind of nurturing that funnel in and putting those pixels behind those pages? So yes.
Yeah, no, that's really great feedback. We hadn't thought of the webinar actually, and I think that that funnel is quite a good process to lead them through. I mean, we have used blogs and some drip email campaigns, but I definitely like that process, and leading them through that, and changing them from a cold lead to a warm lead. So yeah, that's definitely something we'll have a look at and see if we can implement.
Yeah, definitely do the webinar. It's really cheap right now. Like, you won't believe like how much it costs you to capture it. Just make sure you do advertise that webinar. Like, you make content really good. Really appeal to a really hot topic, like how XYZ coaches A-leagues. Like it really has to be like, I have to attend that, but to the point, like, I'll be happy to pay for that. And if you want it to be like, so you want to qualify the people that come in, you can put a price on that. Like, you don't want it to be everyone's coming for free. But if you're more interested in just trying to understand who's interested and still trying to get that process, you can give some away for free, and then you can move on to paid. Tell me about also, so I think Facebook is the main game because it is a consumer-based approach, because you want to get bookings. Have you, when you were doing the Google ads and everything, how many people are actively actually going on Google and looking for these coaches to make a purchasing decision? Were you able to get down to the data of how many people are typing in X keywords? Have you got that kind of laid out or not yet?
Yeah, we've done a little bit of keyword research for all the main keywords. So generally, within each state, there's at the moment there's around 200 per week that are searching, within each city for each of the main keywords, and then for some of the smaller keywords, that goes down to 100, then 50, then 30. So in total, there's generally around 1,000 or so that are searching in each of the major cities across, definitely across the eastern seaboard, and then even within Adelaide, there's a smaller number, and Perth is a slightly larger number than Adelaide.
Okay, and tell me, like, once you've known the keywords, right? I checked out your URL. I don't know if I've gone to the right one. Treiner.co is what I checked out. So when I go onto your link, like James Muir, do you have a canonical URL for that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's set up. So that's actually been pretty useful for one of the Matildas that we encouraged us to sign up on the platform. So Alex Chidiac, who plays for Atletico Madrid. So if you just type her name and coaching, then our link is the first thing that comes up. And that's happened with a few of the other more high-profile players that haven't really done anything in terms of coaching. This is their first coaching opportunity that they've done. So yeah, we're the first link that pops up there with coaching and their name.
Okay, so what I was going to recommend to you. So I'm moving on to a bit more SEO because I kind of told you what to do with Facebook, because SEO is a really important long game to play in most places, very long game. But what I was just going to say was when I was looking at, I'm just going to talk about yours, like James Muir. The way it comes up is trainer.co/coaches/7/James-MUIR. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Now I would be looking at I would be changing that URL, and you can still keep this URL, but it's a canonical URL. I would be having a URL which I would make Google know that my URL, this is my secondary URL, this is my first URL. It should be trainer.co/Victoria / the keyword that you're targeting. So I don't know if people actually type in soccer coaches here or football coaches. It should be football coaches.
Well, yeah, I guess there's a mixture.
So just choose the best one that's got the highest value. Okay. And then /James Muir. And why I tell you about URL is because now all of a sudden Google is understanding, and that will happen for all of the coaches throughout the whole site. So if they're in New South Wales, it will say New South Wales. Other techniques that are I've seen that work even more, because if people are searching by postcode, you'd want that postcode to be up there as well.
Okay, so, great. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
So New South Wales Victoria/Croydon / blah 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 James Muir, /coach. That URL really will help you get Google to better understand you. Okay, so that's something you'll see like traffic straight away. Your summary page, okay, like of your site. Have you embedded the keywords in here for your summary?
We're starting to optimize that at the moment. So we're going back and redoing all the profiles and embedding the keywords in there.
Okay, so you can actually run a automation for every description and title page. For you can create a script so that you don't have to do it for every person. So if you know a little bit about the SEO, in WordPress is a Yoast thing. You can run a search. So every time someone joins, their meta description will just be, a collection of where they're based, like Victoria, Croydon. We'll have a keyword, like the keyword. It will be like this. He's a soccer coach or he's a football coach, whatever the keywords are that you know.
Yeah.
So James Muir is a, premier football coach. So that premier football coach will always be for everyone. Unless we've got a drop down of, the different coaches, it will be replaced by whatever they, his highest qualification is B license, which will be depending on, he's been coaching for 15 years, which is dynamic, coming from the profile. Do you see what I'm saying? Like all the description comes from the profile and the meta description is then unique to each person, but it's just a script. So every time that someone joins your profile, there should be a meta that is automatically created for Google.
Okay, that's really great. That's a great tip. Okay. We'll definitely have a look at that.
So scripting your meta and page title is what I recommend. And for your summary, for this whole summary session you've got, the longer you put some, and inject keywords into everyone's, the better results you're really going to get.
Yeah.
I really recommend you put some, effort into this. Have you got any blogs or anything yet that you've?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, we've started pushing quite a few blogs out over the last few weeks. I guess that's been our focus during lockdown. Has been to develop a lot more blog content.
Okay, so when you develop blog content, there are some tools that you need to. So instead of writing whatever you think people are, you want to know, like, for those keywords, if you go put those keywords into Google, right? And this is my secret tip. What is the first blog that appears for that keyword? Okay. And I want you to write that blog again with better with longer. Similar title, but a better title that's more of a hook than what they have. So if they've got 7 things, write 7 things that you need to know about coaching. I want you to write about 10 things you know about coaching.
Yeah.
Does that, you've got to outbeat the blog that is there.
Yeah, so that's the skyscraping technique that we've just started to implement. So we've definitely started looking at that. Because
you've got here top coaches in Sydney, right? I'd want to see top 10 coaches, and I want not just coaches, because coaches is so expansive. I would want to narrow that down. So I'm sure the keyword is not coaches that you're trying to rank for. I'm sure the keyword is like soccer coaches or football coaches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's a good tip.
So I would go back and just the blogs you've already written, I would optimize them. So I would, if you leave these blogs and don't do anything with these blogs, by the way, it's going to actually not be helpful at all. So having bad content that is actually going to not, then your other content won't perform. So go back and just rewrite this content or get rid of it. Unless they're not, like, unless it doesn't have that. So content is really a major game, and it has to be hook-like content, like 15 things you must know, or 15 things if you don't do, you'll never be number 1. Do you see how I'm playing that emotion? So I would I'd love to see each of the profiles optimized. Like I said, I think that's going to be the biggest pay, because when I played into marketplaces, I've seen that pays the most when you actually, but through scripting, because you can't manually do all of them as you scale. And then for blogs, the skyscraping technique, exactly what you said, but your current blogs will, if you don't do them well, and if you don't write them, they're going to hold you down. It's going to be like, no one's going to this, no one's clicking on these, no one's interested in this. So you've got to remember that Google penalizes that too. That if you've got crap content against good content, it's not going to do. It's got to be all good, or don't publish.
Okay, yeah.
Cool. So tell me, like, what you said that you're really into. Other things that you're really into was, so I've told you about some of the UI UX that you should try and get that exit pop-ups or create some, warm things. And I do it through HubSpot, but yes, it does slow down your page because you do use a plugin. But if you can drive the traffic through those webinars, like I told you, and then over here, and you can actually have the chat appear in some pages and not all, if you're concerned about that, because every page is differently by Google.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, that's a good point.
So what other what other marketing techniques are you thinking that could really help you?
Yeah, so the other one has been our email campaigns. So we've developed quite a good list, obviously, over the last few years. So we've got around 4,500 on our current email list that we've segmented into a few different groups, and they get specific campaigns based on which group, and then we segment each of those again. So we've started to kind of double down on that and improve that experience for the users as well.
Okay, Cool. And all right, so you've got the email list. The webinar, I just wanted to go back to that because it's I think it's a really good idea. And I said, like, you can use some of that content. It would have been really cool to see you have that webinar turn into a podcast. So just like building a bit of a brand that people start following about tips and techniques on coaching, because you are doing hopefully high caliber people, and it's just basically just turning that voice into a podcast, because now people want to learn so much in education. They're looking for things that they're really interested in, and you can start. It's not a big effort for you, because you're just doing these interviews and you're literally just taking the audio and putting it into a podcast. And not everyone's doing it, but if you've got 4,000 people on your email list, and you're hitting them with this content or whatever, but the podcast people will literally go, I know that people that are into sports, they want to have knowledge. And you can then all of a sudden build a brand for yourself, that you're just bringing on these webinars, you're bringing on people and then knowing about it. And I think that brand building is going to accelerate your growth really quickly. Like brand building, bringing really high caliber people, even charging for that, then offering it in a podcast later is, I think that could be a really great strategy. And I would play to that, using that one piece of content and repurposing it so well into so many other places.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, no, that's something I think we'd definitely be interested in doing. So yeah, I'll definitely look into that in some more detail.
Yeah. Okay. Well, James, do you have any other questions that it's going through your mind from our chat that you wanted to cover?
Yeah, I guess if there's any other growth hacking tips that you'd recommend now that you've had a obviously look at our platform and have a good understanding of now how it works as well.
Yeah. I really do think SEO is the game and Facebook is the game. I really think there is so much automations that you could do, but I just think that in order to scale, you're going to need a brand here. Because you're playing in such a niche. And I could tell you there's so many other growth hacking things. Like you could be setting up automations that you connect with people that you think are interested in making a booking and sending messages to them all day. But it's just not going to work because it's consumer, whereas in B2B, if you're targeting a B2B audience, there's lots of different ways that you can really target them and talk to them. But this is more about you getting to masses, to really lots of people knowing and talking about, hey, did you know about Treiner? Hey, this is what you need to do. And that's why I'm saying these kind of content is going to be your game, and being able to do this podcast and stay committed to it over a really long time, I think is going to get you huge amounts of growth. So yeah, I wouldn't do the other kind of automations that I would for other people, because when it's a B2C proposition, you have to play a really big game, and you've been playing that game, try and get lots of people and keep them engaged and keep them so that they talk, because if they don't make the buying choice, they'll talk to someone else that does make the buying, and it becomes really brand heavy about becomes really about branding and people constantly thinking about Treiner. And I think Trainer's a really great name, by the way, I must say. I didn't get to compliment you on that.
Oh, thanks.
So I think that's a fantastic name. So it's really easy to remember. The other games, in terms of growth hacking, that I really creative content, video content. If you, I don't know if you've done much video content to get what Treiner does for people or share success stories. Have you done any of that yet?
We've only really done a few interviews with some of the coaches. We did our launch video. So that's something I think some more explainer videos and some more shorter videos is something that we're going to look to do, and those actual training, what a training session looks like as well. So we're trying to get those recorded.
But more really those dynamic videos, what should a trainer do for you, quite clearly. And I have visions of the video that you could do. And I think that when you get to creative videos that make people in their mind go, where Treiner is the place I need to go to find high quality
Mm-hmm.
coaches. Can change my life. That's how I would be doing it. And the videos have to be those with those music going on, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and going. And I would be getting your customers to talk about it, like people that have used Treiner. So rather than the coaches, but people that are like, literally, I would want them to be like, Trainer's changed my life.
Okay, yeah, no, that's quite good. Yeah, we hadn't thought of that.
So you want customers, so you got to get customers to talk about how
Mm-hmm.
Trainers changed their life and how they were here and now they're here, and they're literally on video saying that, and there's like music at the background, and you're kind of you're posting that through to go, okay, this is why you need to be on Treiner. So think about like really look at what the competitors are doing, or look at companies that are not maybe doing what you're doing, but what videos are really attractive and have done well, and try
Mm-hmm.
to create those kind of short 1 to 2 minute videos. And you can do that a little bit later, but the other strategies I told you, they're really the most important I would play.
Mm-hmm.
But content creation of videos that give reviews. The other thing on your site, like I didn't see too many reviews, so I would focus on getting reviews against yourself and everyone that you can. So because reviews, if you've got like 1,000 reviews, that makes people get social proofing, and that's kind of missing. So you can have a few things. So social proof. So if I go through in summary, my recommendation for you, the webinar with Facebook ads promoting that webinar, and I would love to see an A-league person on the webinar. You're grabbing thousands of emails from that. Then you are sending an email sequence with a clickbait on, thanks for attending, check out blah, 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 land them on a page. When they do land on that page, show them an exit pop-up with a discount of some sort, and set up another Facebook ad that if they do land on that page, they will get some sort of deal or discount in Facebook for anyone that lands on that page and spends, I don't know, more than 5 seconds on that page. Search engine optimization, changing those URLs, setting up a script for the meta description and page titles, and adding more to the summary pages of each of your pages. Podcast, I think, could be amazing as well. So everything. And then finally, once you get to this point, when you bite off all this, I think these amazing videos that how Treiner has changed my life, and this is where I was, and this is where I am now because of Treiner and how they've been able to help me find blah, blah, blah. And that would just be for brand building exercises. That's my whole tip for you.
Yeah, no, that's really great. There's some great tips there. So there's definitely some stuff to get started on.
Just do a little at a time. You can write each at a time. Okay, James, well, I hope that was helpful and you got out of it. And I appreciate you so much for coming on and sharing so openly and so candidly about
No problem. No, it's been fantastic.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and keep in touch and get in touch if you need any help whatsoever.
Will do. Cheers. Thank you. Thanks, Mel.